In a world full of noise and endless distractions, the hardest thing to find is clarity. Here, we uncover the ideas, tools, and stories that help you focus on what truly matters so that you can live and work with purpose. I'm Stuart Hislop, and this is The One Thing Guy. In this session, I want to talk about something that's going a little bit deeper, and it affects so many of us every single day. And the question that I want to ask you, how long are you going to keep punishing yourself for something that happened 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago? You know, studies have actually shown that when we've had this negative experience many, many years ago, we hold on to it. For whatever reason, we hold on to that particular incident, and whether we're reliving it in our minds, and I know it's a traumatic experience, but ultimately it starts leading to becoming resentful and almost blaming yourself, which kind of is the opposite. If it happened to you, you're blaming yourself and you're feeling guilty on all of that. There was a little short study that went out, and people between the ages of about 40 going up to even 70 years old, emotionally, they were still living in the early 1990s. Okay, and the reason for it is they just kept on replaying what happened at that particular point. You see, the harder you're on yourself, the harder you start to reflect on that life that's actually past, and you can't go back in time to go and change it, but you keep on reliving it over and over again. And this is something that actually starts to poison your present. It starts to affect the decisions you make. It starts to affect any form of opportunities that come in front of you. There's a level of fear of, well, if I do this, this could happen. And if you don't address it directly, it could actually start to hold you back. So really what I want to talk about in this episode is some very simple techniques to try and let go of that past that's actually poisoning you today. And there are these 5 tips that I want to share with you. And you can hear in the tone of my voice, this is something that's really serious. We've always got something that's inside of us. And for many, we just keep it a secret. We hold it so deep inside of us that it just never comes out until that day where suddenly whatever is happening in your present, it just explodes. And the people around you just don't understand. They don't understand why you like this, why you're doing this. And not only does it start affecting your professional life, but it starts affecting your personal life. So I started to do a little bit of research, and I wanted to understand. And this is not a take a pill, bang, it's sorted out. Memory's gone, hypnosis, or anything like that. This is a process that you're going through. And I want to share with you 5 key actionable tips that you can actually implement to help you through this particular journey. Now, the very first one, and it's one that you can do in the comfort and safety and the private of a space that you feel good in. And it's to write it down. And it's called Name the Real Bully. Okay. And naming the real bully goes like this. It is to identify what happened to you way back then that might not have been your fault at all, but it continually is sitting in your mind as if it was your responsibility. You're the person that actually created whatever that was. And ultimately, you've taken the responsibility of that incident. So the first thing is to write it down. Name the real bully. Almost detail what the actual incident was. It helps to bring it to light. I know sometimes this could be something that's really, really hard to do, but really what we're wanting to identify is who's really doing that damage right now. Is it them back then, or is it you right now? What we want to identify is to make that separation of back then this happened to me. In fact, it wasn't something that I did. It was something that I was an XYZ. And you start to identify the real bully. And this is that first step through this particular journey as you're going through. Now, this can become a traumatic experience to relive it. And if it does get to the traumatic experience, I say stop now and make sure that you do speak to somebody who is a professional in that particular space of psychology to help you through this particular journey. Because you want to get to that safe space. You want to be able to release that negativity or that poison so that you can start moving forward in your life. So the first one is naming the real bully. What was that real bully that put you into that situation? The second is actually stop handing the steering wheel over to somebody else. All right, stop giving somebody else the control of your life. You see, every time you say this, I'm this way because of them, what you're actually doing is you're actually putting somebody else in control of the journey that you've just lived. You keep on handing that over to somebody else. And what actually happens is this blaming somebody else becomes like a bondage, and they become almost empowered over you. You're actually being controlled by them. What you're wanting to do is to get that freedom. And the only way that you can get freedom is through ownership. You steer your journey. You make your decisions. The opportunities that are in front of you, you say yes or no to, not somebody else. So the second one is stop handing control over to somebody else and saying, I'm this way because of them. You've got to try and bring that back to yourself. The third one, and this is something where I had to bring almost like an analogy and metaphor into it to try and explain this. I couldn't get this into exact words, but what we really need to do here is we need to extract the venom from this particular incident that actually occurred. You see, if you think of it this way, the past is the snake bites, and you can't undo that. That is that action, that activity that happened, and that there is something that's always going to be with you. The scar, it'll always be there. But the venom is the anger and the resentment. That's what you've kept, and that's what's absolutely killing you from within. It's that venom that we need to extract. We need to remove it. Yes, the scar of the snake bite will still be there, but it's that venom, that anger, that resentment. We need to actually start to remove that actual venom. When we start to remove that venom, that anger, that resentment, what actually will start to happen is you're actually going to start to feel less anger, less resentment. And ultimately, it actually helps you to almost not relive that incident. You see, it's that emotion that's inside of you that keeps taking you back. And you can think of this in a positive way. Think of it when somebody gave you a massive surprise, or when you got engaged, something that really had a high level of emotion. You remember the emotion, and then you remember the incident. You go, oh yes, I remember that. That was great. But it's based around that emotion. And that's exactly what this is. The incident is there, but it's the emotion that keeps bringing you back to it. And we need to extract that emotion, that anger, that resentment, that venom. Once we can extract that, we can actually start to live with that just being a distant memory and not reliving it every single day. So yes, this is something it is difficult, but we need to address the anger, the resentment. We need to hit that face on, and once we can overcome that area, we'll find that everything else does start to calm down. Not dramatically, it's a slow process, but you will start to calm down. The fourth one is redefining forgiveness. Now, just to clarify, forgiveness, it's not an approval. Okay, it's definitely not any form of approval. It's also not a reconciliation, and it's not about forgetting anything. All right. Forgiveness is choosing almost like the peace over that emotion. Okay. And when you can start to forgive that particular emotion and you choose it into peace, it starts to calm you down. You start to redefine this forgiveness. Now, I know there's certain incidences that have happened that you will never forgive or forget. However, what you need to do is you need to start looking at that emotion and choosing the peace over it. And it's not for them. I can promise you now, you're not going to be giving any kind of forgiveness to them. What you're actually doing is you're doing the forgiveness for yourself. It's to make sure that you can lower that high level of emotions that really haunts you, whether it's every single day, every single hour. That's where we really need to start working on, is to bring that emotion into a level of peace where it doesn't hit the levels of anger and resentment. And then the fifth one is to actually start finding the meaning around all of this, not the misery. Now, you might look at this and go, what do you actually mean? Well, I've read so many articles when I was doing research about this, about people that have had traumatic experiences that are at such levels that you actually are almost questioning why they are still walking on this planet. However, they are walking, and they're a stronger person. In fact, they're actually become a strong leader. And when I looked at all of these different stories, and please, I encourage you to go and research as many of these traumatic stories from people that are actually now speakers. They are keynote speakers. They talk about their journey. They talk about their incidents. And when you listen to them, there's no anger or resentment. In fact, there's quite a deep level of forgiveness inside for them. And yes, they are talking about whatever that traumatic experience was. But what they really are sharing is how it made them stronger, how it made them wiser, how it made them more capable in their life. And this is when we start to find the meaning, not the misery. The misery is always reflecting on that negative side. It's always reflecting on that part and not letting it go. When you can start looking at that and saying, hey, how can I become a better person out of this? What do I learn from this? What is going to make me wiser? You see, you don't have to like what happened. Nobody has to. But you can actually choose to grow from it. And this was one of the biggest lessons when I started to do the research, is the amount of people that have actually grown from it. And not only have they grown from it, they share that experience and they're helping others. They're helping others to become stronger. They're helping others to become wiser, to become more capable. In fact, they help others to extract that venom. Why and how? Because they've done it. They've gone through this particular journey. They actually get to a point where they realize they were not alone. There are people around that's there to help them. And these people that help them, it's not for any personal gain. It's actually for everybody to actually become so much better. So this is something that I really do encourage you. Go and do some research. Find these stories. There are so many of them out there, and see how that person has evolved. It gives you inspiration that you can do it. You can take where you are right now and you can move forward. And it's those simple steps that I wanted to share with you. Name that real bully. All right? Who is really doing the damage now? Is it them or is it me? And you want to make sure that you can actually identify that. You want to make sure that you stop handing control over to other people and saying, I'm this way because of them. All right? Blame is bondage. It holds you into that particular space. You want to have that ownership. You want to have that freedom where you know that you can actually let that go. You want to be able to extract that venom. Remember, the snake bite, was what happened, and you can't undo that. But it's that anger, that resentment, that emotion that you're wanting to actually bring out. So make sure that you do that and redefine forgiveness. It's for you. It's not for them. Make sure that you're doing that. And lastly is just finding that meaning. All right, don't live on the misery. Find that meaning. How can this make me a stronger person? How can this make me a wiser person? How can I grow from this to become more capable in my life? This is an episode that I wanted to really help you to take yourself from living 20, 30, 40 years ago and redefine yourself to today so that you can start opening more doors, start seeing more opportunities and taking those steps going forward. So the quote that I want to close off today, and it's something that really you'll actually start to feel it. Anger is the acid that burns the vessel it's stored in. Let go. Not because they deserve peace, but because you do. It's so true. Anger is the acid that burns the vessel it's stored in. Let go. Not because they deserve peace, but because you do.
You've been listening to The One Thing Guy. Remember, when you focus on what matters most, everything changes. See you next time.